They laughed at her, called her crazy, insignificant, just another voice no one would hear. But what they did not know was that she held the key to a secret powerful enough to bring down a $20 billion empire. And when she exposed the truth, the world changed forever. Stay with this story, because once you hear what she uncovered, you will never see the world the same way again. They laughed at her when she walked into the boardroom. Her heels echoed sharply on the marble floor. A cold hush fell over the men in tailored suits. Whispers crawled through the room like static. She wore no makeup, no jewelry, only a plain black suit and eyes that did not blink. The deal was supposed to be history. $20 billion. 5 nations involved. 18 months of negotiation. And she was the final signatory. The youngest VP in the company's history. The only woman at the table. They called her a placeholder. An accessory to the old guard. The skyline outside was bruised with storm clouds. Thunder rumbled low, like something waking up. She stood at the head of the table, untouched by the murmurs. Her fingertips brushed the sleek metal pen waiting for her. The CEO leaned forward. His cologne smelled like leather and arrogance. "Just sign it," he said, smiling too wide. Her hand hovered over paper. The letters blurred for a moment, then came into focus. Her pulse was slow, too slow. She could hear it. Boom, boom, boom. The floor felt too far away. The lights above too white, like surgical lamps, like judgment. She looked at the names printed on the agreement. Every one of them had shaken hands behind closed doors. She knew. She had seen the emails, heard the phone calls they thought were private, the offshore accounts, the buried evidence. She took a breath that tasted like metal, like blood and steel. She did not sit down. She spoke. Clear, sharp, unapologetic. "This deal is dead." Chairs scraped the floor. Faces twisted. The room shifted. No one laughed now. The CEO stood, his face pale, his jaw clenched. "You do not have the authority." She dropped a folder onto the table. Photos spilled out. Records, wire transfers, illegal contracts, audio transcripts. The walls seemed to lean in. The windows rattled as wind screamed past the tower. Someone knocked over a glass. Water crawled across the polish with like a slow leak. She looked each man in the eye. One by one, no one met her gaze. Security appeared in the doorway, called by someone who had not expected this. She smiled for the first time. Cold, precise. "I suggest you call your lawyers." And then she turned away. The laughter was gone. Silence pressed them like gravity. They watched her walk out, while the rain began to fall. The rain hit the glass like fingers tapping in warning. Sharp, steady, unrelenting. Behind her, the boardroom sat frozen, a tomb of suits and secrets. The security guard stepped aside. They had seen the folder. They had heard enough. She moved down the corridor like a shadow with purpose. Her steps were sure, measured, each one louder than the last. Phones buzzed. Emails pinged. Panic spread like a stain. The CEO collapsed into his chair, pale, sweating. No one reached for him. No one dared. In a nearby office, a junior analyst whispered, "She really did it." Outside, the storm grew teeth. Lightning split the sky in crooked silence. She reached the elevator, pressed a button, waited. No trembling hands. No second thoughts. Only silence and rain. The door slid open. A young intern stood inside, his eyes wide. She stepped in without a word. The doors closed. The descent began. She exhaled once. Long. Controlled. Below, the lobby was chaos in glass and gold. Reporters crowded the entrance. Security pushed against the tide. Flashbulbs lit up like fireworks. She stepped out. Phones lifted like weapons. "Is it true? Did you cancel the deal? What evidence do you have?" She paused only for a second. The lobby lights flickered. Her voice sliced through the noise. They lied. And she walked. Through the noise. Through the questions. Into the rain. It soaked her suit. Clung to her skin. She welcomed it. It washed the heat from her face. the fire from her spine. Behind her, the tower loomed, silent, ashamed. Inside, phones were being disconnected, drives erased, lawyers dialed. She kept walking, past the doorman's shock stare, past the black cars idling at the curb. A siren wailed in the distance. Not near enough. Not yet. The storm followed her, as if it knew, as if it approved. At the corner, a cab slowed. The driver leaned out. Need a ride? She shook her head. I need the truth to travel faster than me. He blinked. She was already gone. Her name trended in minutes. Screens lit up across the city. VP exposes $20B scandal. Power move shakes corporate giants. She did not watch. She knew what she had done. In a quiet diner miles away, she sipped coffee. It was burnt, cheap, perfect. The waitress asked, "Rough day?" She smiled gently, just loud. Outside, 2 agents in dark suits pulled up, unmarked car, serious eyes. She stood, left cash on the table, straightened her jacket, and walked outside. "Ma'am," one said, "we need you to come with us." She nodded. I figured. They opened the back door. No cuffs, no orders, just silence and rain. Inside, one handed her a sealed envelope. Thick, heavy, from a friend, he said. She opened it slowly. Inside, a flash drive, a handwritten note. Asterisk, you only found half. The rest is worse. Be careful who you trust. Asterisk. Her pulse jumped. She looked at the agent. He stared straight ahead, unblinking. Who sent this? No name, he said. But they said you'd know. The car moved. City lights smeared across the windows like oil. She held the drive in her hand. Small, cold, dangerous. Her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. A text appeared. They know you know. Another buzz. You should not have walked out alone. She closed her eyes. For a moment, the silence felt too thick, too expectant. She reached into her bag, pulled out her own drive, identical, but hers was already backed up. Every copy already sent. To the press, to investigators, to one name she never spoke aloud. She tapped the glass between her and the driver. Pull over. The agent frowned. It is not safe. It is never safe, she replied. They stopped under a flickering street lamp. The city was quiet here, too quiet. She stepped out. The wind cut through her suit like a blade. She turned toward an alley. A figure was waiting, leaning on the wall, a cigarette glowing like a threat. I was wondering if you'd come, he said. She said nothing, only raised a flash drive. He smiled, dark, sharp. Then I guess it is really starting now. Her voice was steady. You have 24 hours. He nodded, crushed the cigarette under his heel, and disappeared into the dark. She turned back to the car, but it was gone, vanished. Street empty, phone dead, sky roaring, and then, behind her, footsteps. Fast, intentional. She ran, not from fear, but from certainty. They were coming, and they were too late. She darted through the alley. Puddles splashed against her calves. Her breath stayed even. Focus. The footsteps behind her multiplied. Not 1, 3, maybe more. Shadows danced against brick walls. Voices hissed in hushed urgency. She has it. Do not let her vanish. She turned left, then right. The city's arteries pulsed with neon and rot. Old graffiti blinked under broken lights. She reached a rusted fire escape, jumped, fingers gripped cold iron, slipped, caught again. Her knuckles tore, blood streaked metal. She climbed fast, faster than she had in years. Adrenaline whispered, "You have done this before." Rain turned to needles in the wind. At the top, she rolled onto the roof. Flat, gravel, empty. For now, she lay still, listened. The alley below breathed silence. Then a voice from her earpiece. Hidden, encrypted, static in code. Package delivered. Eyes inbound. Repeat. You are not alone. She sat up, hair dripping, eyes scanning the horizon. Lights flickered in the distance. A rooftop away, a figure stood still, watching. No weapon drawn, but none needed. She stood, too, face to the storm, back straight. No words passed between them, but something did. Understanding. History. Regret. The figure raised a hand. Fingers splayed. 4, 3, 2. She stepped back. No fear, only action. A drone buzzed overhead. Low, silent, its camera locked onto her. She pulled a flare from her pocket, lit it. Red bled into the night. The drone blinked once and veered away. Message received. She moved again. Over vents, past chimneys, toward the edge. Below, the street was empty, deceptively calm. A car rolled past. Tinted windows. Wrong license plate. Too clean. She memorized it. Every digit. She would see it again. From a rooftop 2 blocks down, a flash. Sniper scope. Heartbeat froze. Just for a second. She dropped flat. The gravel dug into her side. Wind roared. Glass shattered behind her. A warning shot. Not a miss. They wanted her scared. She was not. She was calculating. Every movement ahead of them. She crawled to a hatch. Pried it open. Rust groaned like a beast in pain. She slipped inside. Darkness swallowed her. A stairwell. Concrete and mildew. Her boots echoed. She descended 5 floors. Voices above. Close. Too close. She kicked open a door. Empty office. Dusty desks. Old blueprints scattered on tables. She remembered this place. A failed construction firm. Closed 3 years ago. She had been here once. Investigating. Learning. Preparing. A back exit waited behind a fake vending machine. She moved fast. Pulled the latch. It gave way. Cool air flooded her lungs. Freedom. For now, the alley opened before her like a wound. She ran again. Faster. Surer. Into the warehouse district. Fences wrapped in razor wire. Storage units stacked like tombs. She stopped in front of one. Unit 9B. Her handprint unlocked it. She stepped inside. Lights hummed on. Dim. Controlled. Screens lined the walls. Maps. Cameras. Audio feeds. Every angle of the city under her watch. She was not alone. Not anymore. A man stood near the console. Bearded. Eyes sharp. He nodded. You were followed. I know, she said. He pointed to a screen. 3 cars. Same tags as before. She looked. There they were. Driving in circles. Like sharks. I want everything recorded, she said. Already live streaming to 7 nodes, he replied. She sat down. Her knees ached. Blood still ran from her hand. She wiped it on her sleeve. Where's the rest? He handed her a tablet. Encrypted files. Thousands. Right here. But you're not going to like what is in them. She opened one. A photograph. A warehouse. Bodies. Unmarked. Burned. Government IDs beside them. She closed it. Breathed in once. I already do not like it. Another screen beeped. Motion detected. Outside the unit. She pressed a button. Metal shutters sealed the door. Bolts slid into place. The safe room was now sealed. A voice crackled through the wall speaker. You cannot hide forever. She laughed. It was not warm. Not amused. She leaned into the mic. I am not hiding. I am uploading. Another button. The files surged into the cloud. Each node confirmed. 1, 2, 3. She hit send all. Newsrooms across the world received the data. Whistleblower portals lit up. Senators' inboxes rang like alarms. The voice outside screamed, You do not understand what you are doing. She replied softly, I understand perfectly. You should have deleted your lies. Gunfire rattled the walls. Dust fell from the ceiling. She stood anyway, faced the door. Let them come, she whispered. I have already won. And then, a distant boom. Not near the warehouse. Farther. Much farther, the skyline glowed orange. A tower was burning. Their tower, the place it all began. She turned to the man. Was that us? He shook his head slowly. No, someone else is in this now. She watched the flames dance across the sky, thought of the folder, the note, the flash drive, the man in the alley. And suddenly it was clear she was not the only one who knew. Not anymore. She whispered to herself. They laughed at me. She turned to the cameras, the files, the names, the crimes. They will not laugh again. Sirens wailed in the distance. Not emergency crews. Not yet. These were faster, darker. Military, maybe. Private response teams. The kind no one admitted existed. She stared at the burning skyline. The orange glow rippled through clouds. Ash began to fall like snow. Fine. Soft. Deadly. The man behind her checked his laptop. New player just went active, he said. Code name, Ember Wolf. Her eyes narrowed. She knew that name from her earliest days in Black File archives, from whispered warnings and sealed testimony. Ember Wolf does not work alone, she said. He looked up. No, never has. The files kept uploading, one after another, each more damning than the last. Bribes, cover-ups, disappeared activists, rigged elections, synthetic viruses. She rubbed her temple, the weight of it pressed behind her eyes. This goes beyond the company, she said. It always did, the man replied. Another alert flashed across the screen. Node 3 under attack. Data interception detected. She hissed under her breath. Cut it off. Kill the stream before they trace it. Too late. A second flash. Node 5 compromised. Pull the dead man switch, she ordered. He paused. You are sure? Her fingers hovered over the console, then pressed the red key. Everything stopped. Upload frozen. Screens turned black. Silence fell. She waited. 10 seconds. 15. Then, a soft ping. All data self-replicated to cold drives. Complete wipe successful. She exhaled. Good. They cannot use what they steal. But her relief was short. From behind the sealed door, a low grinding sound began. Metal on metal. Cutting tools. They are breaching, he said. How long? 2 minutes. She opened a panel in the floor. Inside, 2 duffel bags. One packed with gear. The other, cash, passports, weapons, old school escapes. She handed one to him. You take the rail route. Go north. Safe house in Montreal still exists. What about you? She zipped the second bag. I am going east. That is suicide. She smiled. Only if they catch me. The roof hatch triggered with a beep. She climbed fast, emerging into the storm. Wind tore at her jacket. Thunder rumbled like a broken engine. The city stretched below, burning at its edges. Sirens layered in every direction, but the air held a strange calm, the kind just before systems collapse. She sprinted across the rooftop, jumped the gap, rolled, kept moving. Behind her, the warehouse exploded, a bloom of fire and noise. The force knocked her forward. She skidded to the edge, coughed, stood, kept running. They wanted her erased. They wanted the world quiet. But it was too late for silence. She ducked into a stairwell, down into an abandoned subway line. Old tracks, echoing tunnels, graffiti from decades ago. She pulled out a phone, one of the untraceable ones. Dialed. A voice answered on the first ring. Static heavy. Male. Controlled. Go ahead. She spoke 3 words. Code only 6 people alive could understand. The wolf woke. Silence. Then confirmed. She hung up. The message was enough. In the shadows, a train light blinked on. Electric hum rising. An old service tram pulled into the station. Doors creaked open. She stepped inside. 2 people already there. One in a priest's collar. The other in a mechanic's jumpsuit. Both nodded. They said nothing. They did not need to. The doors shut. The train vanished into darkness. Across the city, those in power scrambled. Phones destroyed. Flights booked. Servers pulled from racks. But the leaks had already spread. Downloaded. Printed. Buried in 1,000 safes and servers. In classrooms. In churches. In cafes. Truth lived now in the hands of the people. And the people had questions. One man, far from the flames, opened his laptop. An alert pulsed. Leak package 9B. Subject, Project Eidolon. He clicked. His hand shook. Inside, proof of genetic trials on civilians. Illegal, deadly, hidden under humanitarian cover. He picked up his phone, called his editor. "We have a war on truth," he said, "but I have the first bullet." Back on the train, she felt her body relax for the first time. Exhaustion wrapped around her like a shroud, but she stayed awake. Always. Sleep was for those safe behind lies. She looked at the man in the collar. His eyes met hers. "Where to now?" he asked. She looked out the dusty window. A graffiti-covered wall sliding past. "Where the silence is loudest," she said, "and the liars are loudest." He nodded. "Then we are already close." A soft beeping sounded from her bag. Another message. Just coordinates. No signature. But she recognized a pattern. A place. An old prison turned research center. Long abandoned. Officially. Unofficially. She knew better. She stood. The others followed. They were going back to the source. Not to run. Not to hide. To expose. To finish what they started. Because the world did not need another martyr. It needed a reckoning. And she was ready to deliver it. Not with speeches. Not with bullets. But with undeniable, unkillable truth. The train slowed. A tunnel opened. A faint light ahead. She stepped off the train. And into the next battlefield. The air in the tunnel was damp. Heavy with age and secrets. Every breath tasted of rust and memory. The light ahead flickered. Buzzed. A failing bulb over a rusted gate. She stepped forward. The others followed without question. Gravel crunched beneath their feet. Old signs warned of trespass. Radiation. Containment. She pushed open the gate. It groaned like something waking from a bad dream. Beyond it, the earth sloped down. Half-buried concrete structures emerged like bones. This was it, the prison. But it had not been a prison in decades. Not officially. The files called it Site 19. Others called it a hollow. But those who built it called it necessary. She walked slowly now. Her boots touched ground untouched by law. The building loomed, gray, cracked, still humming with unseen energy. The priest murmured a prayer. The mechanic checked his tool belt. Neither asked why they were there. They already knew. Inside, the air dropped 10 degrees. The concrete walls were lined with blackened steel. A hallway stretched before them, lit by sickly yellow light. Every door they passed had a story, and a lock. Most had been broken. She paused in front of one marked records, Class 3A. The code from the flash drive matched the plaque. She keyed in a number. The door clicked, opened slowly. Inside, stacks of sealed boxes, drives, tapes, labeled in cold, bureaucratic script. Test Group 4B, Civilian Infusion Series. Observation logs, patient 206 to 215. She opened a box, pulled out a folder. Inside, photos, not of her, but people she remembered, disappeared activists, a journalist she had met in Berlin, a whistleblower from Nairobi, all tagged, marked with results, some labeled non-viable, some labeled integrated. She swallowed hard, then flipped to the last page. There was her name, printed in red ink. Asterisk subject 2A deviated. Termination recommended. Asterisk. She held the page tight, felt her pulse in her fingertips. "This is where they tried to erase me," she said. The priest stepped closer, his voice soft. "But you survived." She nodded. "I was never supposed to." From the shadows, a whir. Cameras. Still online. Someone was watching. Somewhere deep within the complex, power still hummed. She left the records room. moved deeper. Each step brought more memories, more fear, but also clarity. They had tested on people, injected truths too dangerous to leave in books. She remembered now the night she escaped, a fire, the alarm, bodies. She had run through corridors of fire and silence, and never looked back. Until now, they reached the control room. Broken glass, half-lit monitors. But one screen still glowed. An active terminal. Logged in. Someone was just here, the mechanic said. Recently. She typed. Command line appeared. She ran a search. A video file blinked open. Footage from a camera above the main chamber. Someone in a lab coat, moving quickly, plugging in a device. Then leaving. The timestamp was 1 hour ago. She froze the frame. Zoomed in. The face turned slowly. Her breath caught. It was him. The CO. Alive. Not arrested. Not exposed. He had known. He had come back. To cover what she could not see. To burn the rest. But he was sloppy. Or desperate. He had left something behind. She scrolled the footage. There, a hard drive. Unplugged too fast. Left in a drawer beneath the main interface. She turned. Ran down the stairs into the chamber. The others followed, breath shallow. The air thickened. The main interface glowed. Old machines. Still running. Still watching. She yanked the drawer open. There it was. Small. Black. Dusty. She plugged it into a backup terminal. Password protected. Of course. She tried a name. His daughter's. Access denied. Then a code. The amount of the deal. $$20 000 000. Access granted. The screen blinked. Files loaded. She scrolled. Blueprints. New names. Phase 2. The scandal she uncovered was only the beginning. They had planned expansion. Not in secret, but in plain sight. Masked as medical innovation. Smart cities. Personal data optimization. Human adaptation labs. And all of it funded by governments. Monitored by AI. Traced back to a single account. His. She hit export. The data flooded into a portable node. Then she pulled the drive. The chamber lights flickered. Something had triggered. A shutdown. Time to go, the mechanic said. They ran. Through corridors now breathing with heat. From behind, a thud. Metal boots. Not soldiers. Not human. Security units. Obsolete models reactivated. She turned. Raised her pistol. Fired. The shot ricocheted. Dented the casing. Not enough. The priest pulled a flare. Lit it. Threw it. A blast. Sparks and smoke. The machine collapsed. Sparks crackling from its chest. Go, he yelled. I will hold them. She hesitated, but only for a breath. She nodded, gripped the drive, ran. Each hallway blurred. Sirens screamed. Steel doors closed behind her, sealing a past she could never forget. The mechanic opened a hatch. A vertical shaft. Rope ladder already waiting. She climbed, hand over hand. Out! Into open air. Stars above. The forest thick with night. They ran. Until the sight was no longer visible. Until the screams of steel were memories. At the ridge, she turned back. Smoke curled into the sky. Black against the moon. She held up the drive. Cold in her palm. This was it. Proof of the end. And the beginning. She whispered. They laughed at me. A pause. A breath. But now they will burn. And she walked into the dark. Not alone. Not afraid. But ready. The trees whispered above her. Branches swayed like silent sentinels. The wind carried ash and pine. And beneath it all, the hum of helicopters. Far off. Searching. But not blind. They would come. She knew that. She felt it. Every instinct sharpened. She moved through the forest with precision. The mechanic close behind. His breath ragged. Her own controlled. Years of training came back with each step. Old habits reborn in crisis. She paused at a clearing. Raised a hand. The moonlit space beyond shimmered strangely. Tripwires, infrared sensors. She reached into her jacket, pulled a small black disc, set it on the ground, pressed a switch. A pulse of static rippled outward. Invisible, effective. The sensors blinked red, then died. They crossed into a ravine carved by forgotten rain. Deeper now. Safer. But not safe. Never safe. The drive in her hand grew heavier. Not in weight, in meaning. Inside, secrets darker than oil. Contracts for human trials in war zones. Whole communities sterilized under the guise of aid. A list of compromised leaders. And one file marked simply, the initiative. She had not opened that one yet. She could not. Not here. Not yet. A cabin came into view. Half collapsed. Buried in vines. Not on any map. She had slept there once, years ago. On the run. Before the promotion. Before the world noticed her name. She nodded to the mechanic. They entered in silence. Inside, the smell of damp wood and moss. She lit a single oil lamp. Golden light bathed the walls. A table, 2 chairs. No cameras. No electronics. Just the old world. Safe for now. She placed the drive on the table. Stared at it, daring it to change what she knew. The mechanic sat across from her. You think he planned this all along? She nodded once. Yes, and I think this was only one of his chess pieces. Then we are not fighting a man. No, she said. We are fighting an ideology. She took out a second device. Encrypted, custom built. It hummed softly as it powered on. The drive clicked into place. Files spilled across the screen. Lines of code. Photos. Blueprints. Then, a video. She pressed play. The screen flickered. His face appeared. The CO. Recorded months ago. Sitting in a dark room. Eyes cold. Voice steady. If you are seeing this, then I failed to erase you. She leaned closer. But know this. None of this was ever about you. It was about progress. Evolution. Order. You were simply an outlier. A deviation. He leaned forward in the video. I created the initiative because humanity is flawed. It resists change. It clings to comfort. But soon, comfort will not be an option. He smiled, almost gently. We engineered chaos so we could control the solution. Floods, viruses, financial collapse. All predictable. All necessary. The screen glitched, flickered. He continued. The next phase begins in 5 days. Once the Nexus cities activate, control will be permanent. Behavior modulation, cognitive alignment, peace by design. She slammed the pause key. The screen froze on his face. Her jaw clenched. They are not saving humanity, she said. They are rewriting it. The mechanic stared at the screen, a slow horror growing in his eyes. And they are nearly done, he whispered. She nodded, unless we end it first. She dug into her bag, pulled out a satellite transmitter. Damaged but reparable. He took it, began working silently, soldering, tweaking. Every minute counted now. She studied the data. The initiative's control hubs. 12 total, 6 already active, each located beneath major cities. All tied to the Nexus grid, energy surveillance and influence pipelines. Interface with AI protocols she had never seen before. Each system capable of influencing thought patterns. Via screens, phones, advertising, voice assistants, even smart streetlights. Not direct control. Worse, subconscious guidance, perception filtering, behavioral nudging, free will eroded choice by choice. She whispered, they are turning the world into a behavioral prison. Outside, the wind shifted. Then, a branch snapped. Too sharp, too close. She doused the lamp, grabbed her pistol. A flicker of motion through the window. Then a voice. Calm, familiar. You cannot stop evolution, Ilera. Her breath caught. The CEO's voice. Outside the cabin. Live, not on screen. She moved to the wall. Signaled the mechanic to stay down. Another voice joined his. Female. Sharp. You had your chance. You could have been one of us. She clenched her jaw, then stepped outside. The wind hit her like a wave. He stood 20 feet away, flanked by 2 operatives, wearing black, visors down, no insignias. You are supposed to be dead, she said. He smiled. I was reborn. I exposed everything. You exposed the first layer, he said. But the public forgets. They always forget. She raised her pistol. You are done speaking. He stepped forward, unarmed, confident. I did not come to fight you, Ilera. I came to offer you a choice. You always talk about choice while erasing it, she said. He held out a small device, a tablet. Run this, and you become more than a symbol. You become sovereign. You can rebuild from the ashes your way. She stared at it. Temptation radiated from it. Power, control, the ability to shape the world. He smiled. I know what you saw in that data. You know what is coming. The chaos is real. This is your way out. She looked down at the tablet, then crushed it under her boot. No, she said. You engineered the chaos, but I am the correction. The operatives raised their weapons, but she was already moving. A flash grenade flew from her belt. Blinding light. Shouts. Gunfire cracked the silence. She dove, rolled, fired once. One of the guards fell. The other retreated. The CEO was gone. Smoke trailed through the trees. The mechanic ran out of the cabin. You okay? Fine, she said, standing, blood on her sleeve. But not hers. Did you finish the uplink? He held up the transmitter. Light, blinking green. It is live. Then it is time. She uploaded the rest. All of it, unfiltered, unedited. Too many people had controlled the truth. Now, the truth controlled itself. All 12 cities, all nodes. The system cracked, then shattered. Screens went dark. Speakers screamed static. Billboards reset. The world blinked and woke up. Across the globe, people paused, read, watched, listened. They remembered her name. And this time, they did not forget. She holstered her pistol, looked at the stars. The world was broken, but not lost. Not anymore. She turned to the mechanic. We start rebuilding tomorrow. And tonight, he asked. She smiled. Tonight, we let them panic. The stars blinked above them. Clearer now, freed from the static fog of synthetic satellites. For the first time in years, the sky felt honest, real, alive. The mechanic sat on the cabin step, rubbing his wrists. He was shaking, but not from fear, from release, from the strange, quiet weight of surviving. She stood in the doorway, watching the tree lean, watching for more shadows. None came, only wind, only silence, and the first hints of birdsong. They will come again, he said. She nodded. They always do. But they will not be able to hide anymore. He looked up at her. You really think it will change? She stepped down beside him, removed the drive from her coat, held it like something sacred. I do not think. I know. Inside that drive was everything. Proof of initiative. Proof of neural targeting. Proof of votes erased and minds rewritten. Proof of the algorithms, the manipulation, the lies, and most of all, proof that someone fought back, that someone stood and said no. She sat beside him. The porch creaked. Owls called in the distance. The cabin smelled of old dust and oil. But outside, the scent of pine, of new beginnings. Where will you go? He asked. She looked out over the hills, past the trees, toward the glimmering veins of a broken world. I will not run anymore. I will not hide. I will speak. He blinked. You want to go public? She nodded. Let them look me in the eyes. Let them try to silence a face they cannot erase. You will be hunted. I already am. She stood again, tucked the drive into a shielded pouch. The sky was lightening now, faint hues of orange bleeding into the east. A new day, one the initiative had tried to write, but failed, because of her, because of all those they tried to erase, the ones marked non-viable, the ones discarded and underestimated. They had not vanished. They had become a network, living truths, scattered but unstoppable. And now she would find them, bring them together, a resistance that needed no name, only facts, only memory, only fire. She entered the cabin again, pulled the canvas bag from the floorboards. Inside, a communicator. Old tech, impossible to trace. She dialed a sequence, waited, static buzzed. Then, a voice. "You survived." She smiled. "Of course I did." Another voice joined. Female, worn, familiar. We saw the files. The world saw them. "What now?" Ilera spoke calmly. "Now we move from shadows to signal. We go loud." The line went quiet. Then one word returned. "Confirmed." She closed the comm, turned to the mechanic. He stood now, ready. "What do you need from me?" She placed a hand on his shoulder. "Hope, and a long memory." He nodded. She pulled on her jacket, checked her weapon, checked the pouch, checked the drive. The last physical proof. She would not carry it much longer. It was already duplicating across the globe. But this one was personal. The one they tried to steal, to corrupt, to destroy, and failed. Outside, birds soared across the rising sun. The first drone came into view. It hovered high, silent, watching. She stared back, unblinking, then raised her hand. A simple gesture. Not a wave, not surrender, just presence, existence. She walked from the cabin, each step deliberate, measured, not like someone escaping, but someone arriving. The drone turned slowly, flew away, not in retreat, but in acknowledgement. She had changed the algorithm. She had interrupted the code. Now, the world recalculated itself. She walked down the mountain trail, boots crushing frost, hands relaxed at her sides. Behind her, the past. Before her, everything. Down the valley, a town waited, people waking up, screens buzzing, voices asking questions they had never dared before. She would give them answers. She would give them more. She would give them fire. In the town square, reporters gathered. They had found her trail. They always would. This time, she would not run. She stepped onto the sidewalk, pulled back her hood. Cameras flashed, microphones raised. "Miss Vance, Ilera, are the leaks real? Do you fear retaliation? Are you the leader of the resistance?" She looked at them, eyes sharp, voice steady. "I am not your savior. I am not your enemy. I am just someone who said no. And now I am telling you, they will not stop unless you make them." Silence followed, not empty, full, alive. One voice spoke next, a student, barely 20, face pale, hand raised. "What do we do?" Ilera looked into the crowd, saw hundreds, thousands, the edge of something vast, something rising. She smiled. "Remember everything. And do not wait for someone like me. You already know what to do." The crowd stood still. Then someone clapped. Then another. Then all of them. The sound echoed through the town square, louder than any explosion, more honest than any speech. And high above, satellites blinked red. A warning, a shift. The system recognized her as noise, unmanageable, disruptive. She smiled, because noise becomes rhythm. Rhythm becomes movement, and movements, they change the world. The clapping did not stop. It built, row by row, a wave of hands in defiance. It shook windows, turned heads, alerted watchers in distant towers. And they watched her, standing alone at first, now surrounded by voices. Not an army, not yet, but something stronger. The seed of one, a child pushed through the crowd, brown eyes wide, holding a wrinkled paper. Is this you?" Ilera bent down, took the sheet gently. It was a printout, A grainy image from one of the leak files. The old her, captured on a surveillance feed. Hollow-eyed, trapped in the research facility. She stared at it for a moment, then met the girl's eyes. Yes. The girl tilted her head. You look different now. Elara smiled softly. I am. Behind her, someone handed her a bottle of water. Another offered a coat. A man stepped forward, mid-50s, worn hands, oil under his fingernails. I saw what you released. My brother was in one of those places. They told us he overdosed. He never touched a pill in his life. His voice cracked. Elara placed a hand over his. He did not pull away. I am sorry, she said, but now they cannot lie about him again. Another woman stepped forward, a former teacher, then a street medic, then a tech worker, all with stories, all with losses, all angry, all ready. Someone raised a flag, not a nation's, not a brand's. It was white, painted with a single word in black. Remember. The crowd stilled. Phones rose. Live feed streamed. From rooftops, cameras zoomed in. Drones hovered. She knew every intelligence agency on the planet was now watching. Some waiting, some trembling, some planning. She had become a variable, a disruption, a threat, and she would not stop. She looked at the sky. The clouds were clearing, revealing a pale blue she had almost forgotten. She turned to crowd, her voice quiet at first, measured. I am not here to lead a war. I am not here to build a throne. I am here to tear down the veil, to bring what was hidden into the light, to show you what was done in your name, with your money, without your consent. Murmurs rippled. A journalist near the edge recorded every word. And I am telling you now, there are more facilities, more systems. More lies, gasps, cries, but not panic, not this time. Resolve, grit. Truth was a strange drug. It hurt at first, then it sharpened. I will release everything, she said. Every name, every transaction, every experiment, every death. She raised a drive in her hand. This is not leverage. It is not blackmail. It is a mirror. Look into it. See who you really are. And if you do not like it, change. The silence that followed was thick, alive. Then a chant began. From somewhere near the back. Low, determined. Remember, remember, remember. It spread, faster than fire. Soon hundreds joined, then thousands. The square shook with it, echoed with it, until it reached the buildings, the wires, the satellites, the world. And those at the top heard it too, in glass towers, in bunkers, in hidden rooms lined with servers. They scrambled, made calls, devised denials, drafted new distractions. But it was too late. The truth was not a story anymore. It was a movement, a roar, and it had a face now. Her face, Elara Vance, survivor, whistleblower, catalyst. They would try to discredit her. Already were. Old files reactivated, fake scandals planted, fabricated lovers, misquoted speeches. But none of it stuck, because her words were already burned into the world's skin. Too raw, too real. In another city, protesters began to gather. In another, students occupied data centers. In yet another, factory workers walked off the line, all chanting the same word. Remember. She left the square before noon, slipped out a side street, covered by allies she did not even know. A network was forming, cells of truth, clans of memory. She ducked into an alley where a car was waiting, an old electric sedan. Behind the wheel, a woman with a scar across her cheek. She nodded once. You have changed everything, she said. Elara slid into the passenger seat. Not yet, she replied, but I will. The car pulled away, down cracked streets, past broken billboards and blinking lights, toward the next node, the next leak, the next crack in the empire. In the rear-view mirror, smoke was rising from a government building. A fire, someone said, but Elara knew It was not a fire. It was a signal. And there would be more, because the truth had escaped, and it was learning to run. The road twisted through a barren industrial zone. Rusting fences leaned like tired sentinels. Old signs swung in the wind. Keep out. Private property. Trespassers will be prosecuted. The woman at the wheel did not slow. She drove like she knew the ghosts here, like they had names, like they had never left. Alara sat still, watching the blur of a broken city crawl past. "Where are we going?" she asked. The woman glanced over. Somewhere forgotten. They built it before the data age. No satellites, no records, no eyes. Perfect for remembering. The car dipped into a tunnel. Everything turned dark. Lights flickered. The walls dripped with time. Then, daylight again, but colder, sharper, like the world above had peeled away. They emerged in a basin of concrete and steel. Massive doors carved into the earth. Unmarked, unlabeled. Alara's pulse slowed, not from fear, from recognition. This was one of the sites, one of the first, before the initiative was called that, back when it was still a hypothesis, before it learned how to lie. The car stopped. The woman got out first, walked up to the thick steel doors, pressed her hand to a scanner. A low tone vibrated, then silence, then a hiss. Metal groaned. Dust lifted. The doors cracked open. Light spilled out, dim and electric. Alara stepped inside. The air changed. Dry, filtered, heavy with memory. She walked through halls where no one had walked in years. But everything still worked. Cameras tracked movement. Terminals blinked. The ghosts here had teeth. They passed a wall lined with photos. Test subjects. She stopped, saw her own face. Younger, unmarked, confused. Below it, a barcode. She touched it lightly. "I was 17, she said. "They told me I won a scholarship." The woman said nothing. She did not need to. They both knew the lie. Alara kept walking. They reached a vault door, thicker than the rest. Behind it, records, originals, hard copies, not digital, uneditable, proof. The woman handed her a key. Physical, metal, cold. "Alara," she said, "this is where it began." "And where it ends," Alara replied. She turned the key. The vault opened, and inside, rows of shelves, tapes, discs, books, files, unbelievable amounts. History buried in silence. She stepped inside, pulled a file at random, opened it. A list of names. Doctors, politicians, investors, people who made it possible, people who profited. Another folder. Photographs. Children in tubes. Eyes wide, wires in their skulls. Dates handwritten in the corners. Some folders were sealed. Red wax. Stamped with an old insignia. The original initiative crest. Not the one the public knew. This one had no circle. Just an eye. Wide open. Unblinking. She backed away. This cannot stay hidden. "No," the woman said. "It was never meant to. But you have to survive the release." Alara looked at her. Really looked. She was older than she appeared. Eyes too tired. Hands too still. "You worked here," Alara said. It was not a question. The woman nodded. "I'd built the first model. The one that learned emotion. The one that broke." "You called it empathy," Alara whispered. "Yes." "And they called it inefficient." The woman nodded again. "They erased it, burned the code. But it remembered, and it warned me." They stood in silence for a moment. Then Alara spoke. "Help me copy everything." The woman pulled out 2 cases. Inside, modular scanners. EMP hardened, quantum isolated, already prepared. They worked in silence. Scanning, archiving, digitizing everything. Outside, the world spun, and the feeds were full. Protests, revolts, whistleblowers rising from every continent. The story had spread like wildfire, but it was not just rage. It was grief. It was clarity. They uploaded half the vault that day. encrypted it, fragmented it, sent pieces to different nodes, libraries, universities, safe houses, and to the people. The rest, Ilera said, would come later, in waves, in revelations, not all at once. Truth, she had learned, needed to be digested, or it burned. They sealed the vault behind them, left it untouched, in case others needed to see it with their own eyes. They exited into twilight. The sky was burning pink, not from fire, just a sunset, a real one. She looked back once, then forward, toward the cities, the people, the future. "Are you ready?" the woman asked. Ilera inhaled slowly. Yes. The truth was no longer a secret. It was a current. It ran through everything. And she was a lightning that sparked it. And she would not stop now. Not until the last eye closed. Not until every lie shattered. Not until the world remembered. The city skyline shimmered in the distance. Not from neon. Not from fire. But from light. Natural. Unfiltered. Clean. Ilera stood on the rooftop, looking out over streets once choked with silence, now filled with noise. Not the chaos of sirens or static, but music, voices, truth. Screens across the world now pulse with transparency. No more black boxes. No more filters. Information flowed freely. Leaders stepped down. Systems reformed. Not overnight, but visibly. The people had chosen remembering over forgetting. They had chosen scars over blind obedience. And Ilera, she had given them that choice. Behind her, the door creaked open. The same mechanic from a cabin stepped through. His hands were cleaner now, his shoulders straighter. He held a small device. Simple, worn, but powerful. "They finished the archive," he said. "Global nodes confirmed. No one can bury it again." She nodded. "Good." He hesitated. "You could vanish now, you know. Disappear. Be safe." She smiled. "I was invisible once." Safe is just another kind of prison. A breeze stirred her coat. Distant laughter echoed from a nearby square. Children were chalking messages on the pavement. One of them read, "They tried to erase US. We remembered. Asterisk, asterisk." She watched the sun dip lower. A slow, golden descent. "No statues," she said. "No parades. No myth." The mechanic tilted his head. "Then what?" She turned to him. Soft eyes. Steady voice. "Teach them to question. Teach them to doubt. Teach them to ask who benefits when they are told to forget." He smiled. "Already started." A comm unit on his belt chirped. Another city. Another leak. Another movement. The world no longer needed a savior. It had learned to save itself. Because of her. Because of all of them. Ilera walked the stairwell. Paused once. Looked out at a planet beginning to heal. Not perfect. Not fixed. But aware. Then she stepped down into the night. Her story had ended. But the remembering, that would never stop.